The Herbert River is the third largest contributor of fine sediment to the inner lagoon of the Great Barrier Reef. Reef Joss 4 Herbert River Gully and Grazing program incorporates on-site construction, fencing, off-stream watering, reveg and grazing management. This fine sediment is exactly the type of material that we're trying to stop, ultimately making its way into the inner lagoon of the Great Barrier Reef.
Terrain have been doing a lot of erosion, gully restoration work. I was pretty excited to go a different direction from normal. We'd like to keep it sustainable and profitable and keep it going for the family for future generations.
This is an example of what one of the gullies looked like, and that was so active that we actually saw that in 2018 move 80 metres in one rainfall event over one night. So we've now redirected the water, and in doing so we've created the rock chute to allow that water passage from the dam into the creek system. We did have a spillway, and that meant that all the tailings dam material was actually making its way into the Herbert. By re-establishing this wall, we're helping to give a much greater retention time for that fine solids to really settle out, and we're starting to see this system turn itself back into a natural wetland where the water quality will just continue to improve year after year.
Yeah, when the big rains come, like it'll just, yeah, the creeks will be going back, cutting back further, and yeah, if you're losing valuable grazing land, yes, it's a concern, yeah.
We had a classic gully head. It was several metres across. We had seen that gully head progressively move further and further up into the catchment. We built what we call a cutie shooty, so it was a smaller rock chute about 20 metres in length, and it facilitates a drop in height and then disperses that water below where the gully head was.
Yeah, they just got some crushed up rock and put it in and made it look pretty.
So the job that we're at today comprises of two main parts. So the first part is a gully complex that used to have multiple erosion heads, and then the second part to the job involved a large drain system adjacent to the road. And this erosion goes about 600 to 700 metres below the point that I'm standing at now. What we've done is excavate the gully complex and use that material to fill in the drain feature. And now that water's all being redirected throughout the rest of the catchment. We've installed a series of woe buoys and bunds, so we're now spreading that water out far more evenly across a much broader area, which is exactly what happens in nature.
Adequate energy is the best diet. So my role is to give grazing people in this area perspectives on how they can stop degradation of soils, but actually help get those soils into a state that can capture water better and hold it better and stop the runoff. We do that by keeping plants relatively heavily utilised, but at the same time giving it a break from grazing so that we're not overgrazing them. But then we return to those paddocks again in the optimal grazing state to keep their sugar flows really working well. We're driving productivity for them, so they actually in the end potentially run more stock, but the stock that they've got on will perform better and do better.
18 months ago we did 13 to 14 kilometres of fencing to split up paddocks and fence off some of our river frontage country so we can keep the cattle out of that during the wet season. So I can see big improvements in some of the country already.
We're making a difference by doing this work because we're stopping tonnes of fine sediment from making their way into the Herbert River and then into the Great Barrier Reef inner lagoon. We've been getting really positive feedback from the graziers we're working with. They're seeing changes in terms of their landscapes, they're seeing the health of their cattle improve, and then they're also seeing that they're retaining their topsoil.